and boom goes the dynamite.
Welcome back to the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show. I am Michael Carbellis. This is Daily Dive. To everyone on the West Coast, good morning. To everyone on the East Coast, good afternoon. It's time for lunch and some lacrosse talk. This is our second to the last episode of Season 1. So we welcome you on this Thursday, June 8th, 2023. On today's show, our top story will be Dhane Smith in the GOAT rank. Now that he has a finals MVP and a championship, does he make the top 10? How high up the list is he? We'll talk about the GOATs of National Lacrosse League. Also, big guest presented by Fanatics, Steve Bermel, the Buffalo Bandits analyst, will join us once again to recap and touch on it one more time, how the Bandits were able to get this done and his take on Dhane Smith's all-time rank. And also our last brew, presented by Beaver's Coffee Company, will be the NLL's championship tradition or lack thereof. When I think some things that the NLL could do a little bit differently for next year's champion, and also will unveil the cover athlete for our NLL video game if it was a thing, obvious to God, because it's obviously not a thing. But if it was, we have a cover. Just to tease the heck out of you, right? Why, who doesn't love that? We'll get to that in the last segment. Go to Daily Dive Lax on social media and click the link tree in our bio. When you do, you'll see the Our Store tab. It should be front and center on the top. Click it, and you will see the awesome shirts. Our merchandise is lit. I help design some of the shirts. We've got more merchandise coming. There's a lot of big changes coming, but if you want to help us accelerate those changes and advance this show, head to Daily Dive Lax, click the link tree, shop our store. It helps us out. Support the show as we try to grow the game. And our top story presented by that store is Dhane Smith's GOAT rank. Now, this one is an interesting topic, and one that I'm not going to try to cause controversy. I mean, sometimes I just do that naturally, I feel like, on the show. But Dhane Smith, of course, now has a NLL Finals MVP. Dhane Smith, as we know, is a legend in lacrosse, and his legend grows even more and more every single game that he plays. In fact, a fun stat that I found out, which I did not know, Dhane Smith is currently like 16 playoff assists away from John Tavares. There's like the playoff records. That blew my mind, because I've learned that John Tavares like dwarfs a lot of people in all kind of stats, and one of them is not the playoff assists. While Tavares is first with like 114, Dhane has 108. Well, no, Dhane has like 96. I forgot. I did the math wrong on that, but you understand he's like 16 assists away from John Tavares. So give it another deep playoff run maybe next year. Dhane Smith could climb to the all-time leader, and that does mean something. What's crazy is that Dhane Smith is only, I say only, he's only 30 years old. So Dhane Smith, born September 23rd, 1992, still has a bulk of his career to go if he chooses to keep on investing in this lacrosse thing. Because to be fair, while Dhane may not be the best example of guys who have to work two jobs, because Dhane probably makes more than other guys do, I'm assuming it is interesting that Dhane Smith, how long do these guys like to play? I know Dan Dawson's like 49,000 years old. Matt Vince is like 41 as of tomorrow, I believe. So one has to wonder how long he'll play. But Dhane Smith, as it stands right now, his career since 2013, all with the Buffalo Bandits, he's got 950 career points, including just over 600 assists. He's got 777 loose balls. You're welcome for the cash three, people. And in terms of playoffs, he's got 145 total points in just 24 games. He's a legend and of course, deserves all respect. But let's talk about some guys on the list and are possibly in the top 5 or top 10 that he still has to surpass. You've obviously got John Tavares. And if you like goalies, Matt Vince is probably 1B on that list, okay? So I'm including some goalies here. You got John Tavares, Matt Vince. Dan Dawson may be up there. Maybe you could argue between Brody Merrill, Dane Dobie, and Gary Gates, Curtis Dixon, Sean Evans, Casey Powell, Ryan Benesh. He could fit somewhere in that mold. And, of course, you got Lyle Thompson as well. That was about 11 guys I pulled off right off the bat, off of just career stats and guys' names I recognized. So, if my money were on this right now, I would say Dhane Smith right now is a borderline, if not like seventh best, might be his peak right now. If he hung it up right now, if he was, so that's it for me. One championship for Buffalo. You're welcome. Have a great day. I'm all about making my money off the field now, which I would totally support, by the way. I think Dhane Smith would be like number 7 right now. Maybe top 5 if you want to go that route. I'm sure some fans might have him top 5. But if he continues to play, there's a possibility Dhane Smith definitely cracks the top 5 and, dare I say, one of the best, if not the best player of all time. And I'm going to tell you why this comes up, in my opinion, as like the official GOAT. John Tavares, while I did say Dhane Smith was 0-3 in the finals, John Tavares also had 4 finals losses. Dhane is 1-3, Tavares is 4-4. Tavares obviously has 1,749 career points, which is 800 goals, 900 some assists. Dhane Smith already has 600 assists. There's a possibility if he plays long enough, and I'm not saying just milking it, I'm just saying being Dhane Smith, he could pass John Tavares if he gets the championships. Obviously, in a society where rings are valued at an all-time high, that's a big deal. But I really believe that Dhane Smith has the potential to be the GOAT. And I also want to say this as well, that John Tavares, I'll say it again, played in the league with like 8 teams or 9 teams. Dhane's played in the league with 15 teams. It's much harder to win it now. The talent pool is growing. The parity is growing. And I could argue that Dhane was on a super team this year, but it wasn't any more of a super team than San Diego, and San Diego got in the first round. So this Dhane Smith thing is very serious. I cannot wait to see where people rank Dhane Smith, even after this season or even next year or 5 years from now. Because those conversations are going to get kind of cute after a while, in my opinion. I know there's some people on Twitter that say, well, now you're bowing down because he called you. No, I don't even think Dhane called me out. I think Dhane made a sarcastic jab, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I think Dhane Smith is great. So do not take this as, well, Mike's calling him the GOAT now. No, this is not that. Be very clear. If he retired right now, he'd probably be top 7. I would probably put him top 5 all time, number 5. I'd have to do an official list in my limited NLL knowledge, but I would say he's probably 5th for me at the highest. But if he kept playing at a Dhane Smith level for even 5 more years, 6 more years, I'm not saying he has to beat John Tavares' point record. I think he'd be like LeBron. Like, to me, I'm a LeBron fan. Let me put this in the context. I believe LeBron James was the best player of all time a few years before he broke the points record, which is like the goals, I guess. But when he did break the record, I'm like, okay, well, now he's the undisputed GOAT in my mind. But there's no changing my mind now until someone else comes along and shatters that. But to me, Dhane Smith does not necessarily have to pass John Tavares in points. He just has to be close enough to where I can make an argument for Dhane. Give him one more championship finals MVP with a dominant run, preferably a 3 like championships. There's an argument, especially in a league with a bunch more teams. There's an argument for Dhane Smith as the GOAT. Like 5 years from now, I think we can have this conversation. And we'll have it every single day on Daily Life because this is what we do. Like, we're not here to crouch, like to shiver at the knees and to have tight lips over here, because that's not how this sport's going to grow. We have to have these conversations. It's not even an uncomfortable one. I think it's kind of fun. I think GOAT debates are kind of cool. But I think Dhane Smith Probably number 5 for me if I had to do a list right off the top of my head. But I would say he has a position to be a GOAT in about 3 to 5 years. I think that's very possible. He's the NLL's GOAT. All right. When I come back, the last brew comes early because, as we mentioned, Steve Bermel will be our big guest. He's not going to be on until 12:20 for those that are wondering about that. So coming up next, our last brew in segment 2 we'll talk more championship talk, including a cover reveal. Are you ready to see what we come up with here at Daily Dive? In terms of a cover and a title of a hypothetical video game, I want to make it clear this is not real, but by golly, we did our best. Daily Dive will return. We'll unveil that next. Don't go anywhere. Back to Daily Dive, I want to give a huge shout out to WSOL42 for winning our Daily Dive bracket challenge. Remember, I created this whole contest where the winner gets a $50 Fanatics gift card. I'll be honest, I'm probably going to up it a little bit for this guy because there was only 10 people that entered, and I feel like it's only fair that we show more incentive to these people. Now, granted, more people might have entered, but that's the joy of being a fan of Daily Dive. So WSOL42, his name on Twitter is Bill Solich. I did not cuss right there, by the way, no. But shout out to Bill, who has won the Daily Dive Challenge. He chose Dhane Smith as his highest goal scorer of the finals and was able to break a 3-way kind of tie, if you will. So that shout out to him. And shout out to all the people that, I believe, like I said, 10 people that entered and 9 if you don't include me. I was not going to take any like fame away, but I think I like to compete, and I finished like just outside the top 3. But shout out to WSOL42. That's Bill for winning it. We will be in contact with him tomorrow. So thanks for those that entered, and we'll see you next time for that bracket challenge as well. We should do like an NLL, like before it even starts, we should do like an NLL Cup challenge. That'll be a fun start to next season. Just saying, a little teasing here and there. All right. Our last Bruin Summit 2 is a championship tradition. Let's talk about it. As you'll know, I was kind of critical. It was a light sense. I wanted more. I love the NLL. I want more from it. So that's why I'm like doing these critical things, these critical thinking things. Because I noticed when the Buffalo Bandits won the championship, not only was our social media teams kind of lacking, like every bit of footage we see is from the game. There's no podcasts. There's no extra interviews. There's no NLL studios saying, hey, welcome in this guy. And plus, we'll see rid of that. I was going to say something else, but don't worry. My point is, I want to see more. And let me be very clear. I know the NLL is on a budget. I know this league has been stuck in the mud for 35 plus years. And I understand some things are not plausible. But what if we invested some money, league-wise, into like a vacation for these players? Because it was very obvious to me, Dhane Smith and Josh Byrne had to go right back out there and play for the Chaos this weekend. Not saying those Bandits players do not love that. I'm not saying they don't love lacrosse because it's built deep inside their blood, okay? This is who they are. My point is, I want them to cherish it more. Now, see, we haven't, but I'm saying I want fans to understand this is a big deal. So as we grow, I would like to see more things being involved and not just maybe like a bonus on their paycheck, which I'm sure happens. Maybe like a trip to Cancun or like wherever, like some destination of their choice, like a cruise, like a Bandits official, like a Bandits only cruise would be kind of cool. I mean, like fans, I don't want to say fans could fund it because we already pay for the games in ESPN Plus. I think there's a way to do that. I think the league, like I said, I've noticed some things. I believe the league could do something like that for the future. In honor of those championships, and of course our Fanatics segment, which is coming up next with Steve Bermel, I wanted to also unveil this. Here's what I'm going to say. So we're calling this, I know I teased it as Tavares NLL 24. Me and the crew came up with something called Jenner Selects. Because as you know, it's kind of like playing on the Madden theme. Like Madden is not like, it was a retired coach, and of course now Madden's passed away. But John Tavares is an active coach. We wouldn't call him like the football game Bill Belichick 24, even though he's one of the best coaches of all time. We call it like Madden 24. So, are you ready to see Jenner Selects 24, the cover that we have come up with? If this was a thing, Teddy is not affiliated with this. Just to let you guys know, it's just poking fun at one of the biggest media giants in the NLL. Here it is. Bam! There's like probably a few copyright things on there, I'm not going to lie. So when this tweet comes out, it'll actually show you guys, like, it'll give credit to Dhane Smith, it'll give credit to Buffalo Bandits. But this is what we came up with in terms of our cover for a hypothetical video game. Jenner Select 2024. And I think it'd be pretty fun. I know EA Sports probably wouldn't make the first game, but I think it'd be a fun thing. And because you guys did vote on this thing, I have another one for you that is also pretty cool. So remember I told you guys yesterday there was an Undisputed GOAT edition that I was going to have? Well, I decided it was Matt Vince, and here's the cover for that one. Here's our GOAT edition for Matt Vince. So Dhane Smith is a cover, Matt Vince is a cover. God forbid if this was real, your boy would be right here playing his own video game. I probably would not be doing the show right now. But this is what we get for right now. The dreams, baby. The dreams, because this is right now. And also shout out to that Box Slacks VR video game on the MetaQuest. And like I said, if Apple makes this, I'm 1,000% paying $3,500. I don't care how I'm gonna rob a bank if I have to. I will rob a bank if I have to do this, okay? So there's Jenner Select 24, cover release for fun. And when I come back, enough of that. We want to give praise to the Bandits one final time before tomorrow's last episode. We're going to talk to Steve Bermel of the Buffalo Bandits, who's also one of their analysts. We're going to talk to him about how it happened and also that Dhane Smith GOAT debate, if you will. This is Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere. Presented by Fanatics is one of our repeat offenders, if you will, one of our best friends, Steve Bermel. Welcome back to Daily Dive for one final time this season.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. How do we sound? We all right?
Oh, yeah, we sound good. We look good. Everything's fine.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent.
So, Steve, we obviously know that you have probably enjoyed the Bandits championship as much as a lot of people have in Buffalo. I want to ask you how they were able to pull it off in a game 3, but really put a bow on the season for us.
Sure. It's interesting because, I mean, this was Dhane Smith's biggest year as a Bandit, not that he hasn't always been good. And I'm not trying to jump the gun on what we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but, he put his fingerprints all over the regular season with basically everyone else getting injured. And then you get to the finals and they get healthy, and all of a sudden Dhane Smith can still be a big role, but it's other guys that can step up and participate. And we saw all year, I think it was 11 times they won by 1 goal, a bunch of overtime wins. And what was interesting is going into the postseason, fans were complaining that the Bandits weren't winning by enough. And it's like, that's how you win in the postseason normally. And then they come into the postseason and win by 12 goals, 10 goals, 15 goals. And then as close as the Colorado series was, they absolutely dominated game 3. So that's a big part of it. And man, that flag story is huge. That Dhane went to the team store that morning. We're at shoot around. He had all the guys writing in gold pen on the flag. 1, what a championship would mean to them in the city of Buffalo, and 2, what they thought it would take to win a championship. So he said, anytime that we're having a bad shift or we're down, we look at that flag and find all the inspiration that we need. So that was a huge storyline as well going in.
That is amazing to hear. I'm glad you were able to provide some tidbits on that. And it's got to feel good. I know Dale was one of the most emotional ones, which is so cool to see. But I got to think in game 3, having their guy Josh Byrne back was pretty cool. Like, how much do you think that affected their offense, or do you think? I mean, obviously they could have won either way. How much did that help their team?
Well, what it did was it brought scoring back to the left side. Unfortunately, when Byrne was out in games 1 and 2, they struggled to find left side scoring, and I think they would tell you that all the scoring was coming from Dehoka, Dhane, and Kyle Buchanan. So they really struggled to find offense on the left side. And you would think or hope that someone like Chris Kluche would have went off for 6 goals like he did against Toronto, but it just didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, Josh Byrne slots back in, and Brad McCulley is able to set big picks again and get guys open, and Kluche able to kind of wash through the middle to open up guys, to give Josh those looks. It's almost like everything falls back into place. Like all the pieces were still pretty good, and most of them were still there. But when Byrne comes back, it's like everything gets put back in the correct spot, like as it should be, and we saw that. And Byrne is just such an elite shooter. I mean, that goal with 1 second to go in the first quarter, I felt set the pace. That got deflected. That's the only reason that it beat Dylan Ward. But he was struggling to shoot. He told us that. It looked like he was struggling to tune up the shot. He was struggling to hit the net. And then that one went in for him. And Tavares said about halfway towards the end of the year that when the offense was struggling, the looks were there. If shots start falling, we'll find confidence. And did they ever in the postseason? And I felt that was a microcosm of Josh Byrne's game 3. As soon as one shot went in, he had confidence to score 3 more.
I love that. And I love that it takes the one shot sometimes. If I'm a great player, sometimes you just got to see it fall, as they say. One question I have to ask you that I teased in the first part of this show is, Dhane Smith may be cracking top 10, maybe top 5 in some people's list all time, especially when you look at his playoff numbers. And now he's got a ring, which is pretty cool. Where does he rank for you, or what conversation should we have him if you don't want to go specifically?
Well, part of me wants to flip the question back to you, because there was a tweet out there that definitely has gotten some traction lately.
Right.
I have to throw that at you because, man, oh man, Dhane, NLL memes, everybody's all over it.
That was great.
This was the coup de grace. This guy has been arguably the most talented Bandit ever. Like what he can do with the ball, the size, the athleticism, the shooting. There were games this season, Mike, where he was involved in every goal they scored. They'd score 11 goals and he'd end with 3 and 8. Like nothing happens without him. He is the straw that stirs the drink. And even he would tell you, he told all of us, keep your MVP. I need a championship. I want a championship. And before you start talking about any legacies and the greatest of all time, people are always going to question, where are the rings? Well, man, he's got one now. And he was so instrumental. He didn't ride anyone's coattails, man. This guy was so instrumental in getting them to where they were through the regular season, and then in that final series, he was excellent. He was the guy that that I think he had 8 points or 10 points on Saturday as well, and even in Colorado when they lost, I think he had 8 points on 10 goals. Like he is involved on the score sheet for everything that happens. He plays defense. That's kind of old style.
That was great.
In lacrosse hockey, that you took the floor for 45 seconds at a time really didn't matter if you were on offense or defense. It's become more specialized, but someone like him will penalty kill and play defense on purpose to bring that athleticism and speed into the transition game, and they'd be on the floor already when things switch to offense. So he's got to be in the conversation. When you say top 5 top 10. He is a statistical giant with the extra games, not only the 18-game season, but the number of postseason games he's played in. He's going to hold so many records and continue to break records. And, the greatest of all time debate is always going to be talent and numbers and rings. And now that he's got at least one ring, it certainly has to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, I was telling people earlier, if I had to do an off-top list, he might be number 5 already. And in 5 years, he might be the best. Even because I feel like LeBron did not have to break the points record, but it was nice that he did.
Yeah.
But there were some people who believed he was there already. And if he breaks the points record, oh my God.
Yeah. And with 2 extra games to do it, and the number of postseason games he has, and the guy is a part of 75 to 80% of the team's goals, either being putting it in the net himself or getting the assists. And he's still young enough that he's got a lot left in the tank to give. And this team is still pretty good. I mean, there's some guys that are a bit older, but guys like Dhane Smith and Josh Byrne, that's your Tehoka Nanticoke. These guys are your strongest players on your left side and your right side, and they aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
I'm glad about that. Surprise question for you. Does it feel like this? I know you don't have any inside information, I'm sure, but do you think Matt Vince may have played his final game? And if it is, just reflect on how he's been regardless.
He gave an interview this week, and he said that it feels like he can't be done. He feels like he's not ready to hang it up. But he said he's got to take some time and talk to his family. It's not an inside scoop. He gave it up on a podcast this week. He wants to talk to his family. They were joking about summer ball out west, and he's got 2 kids my kid's age, 6 and 3. His wife works full time. He works full time as a teacher, so it's a lot harder for him to commit. But if there weren't those other factors, I think he would say he's still going to play because he's definitely got some left in the tank. And the fact that he said that it would feel weird to hang it up, or that might be a misquote, but it's something along those lines that essentially you could read between the lines and say he's not ready to hang them up yet. But he's got some time to decide. There was a joke between him and the GM Steve Dietrich after the San Diego game when he played so well. Chugger told him to check his email for a 3-year contract extension because he played so well. And Matt said that his reply was, wait till next week because you might not be singing the same praises. But, it's up to him. This guy doesn't need to do anything else. He solidified himself as probably the best to ever do it. You talk about the stats plus the rings. He has both. He holds the record for the fewest regular season goals given up by a Bandits goaltender. He also holds the records for the fewest regular season goals the Bandits have ever scored. He holds the record for the fewest postseason goals that the Bandits have ever given up as a team. And he holds the record against Buffalo in a 9-3 win when he played for the New York Titans for giving up the fewest goals to the Bandits in the postseason. It's just absurd. The number of crossover stats, because he's that good and that elite. He's a record holder for the team and against the team in all these categories. It's absurd.
I think goalies do deserve a list on the GOAT list, in my opinion. And he obviously has a case right there with Tavares, in my opinion.
Sure.
But great career and great season for the Bandits. I'm glad it would happen because I think Buffalo deserved it. I think the analysts, no offense, I think you guys deserve it too. So, hey, it's going to be great. I can't wait for next season, but enjoy this one while you can.
All right. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. And appreciate all your tweets that give us a good laugh when you stir the pot, because I know that's what you're doing. And had to get my shots in, when I had the opportunity. So, thanks for having me on. It was good being on a couple times this year. And we're relishing and celebrating a 15-year drought. And ironically, this was my 15th year covering the team. So I was nervous. I was the curse. I was worried it was me. But now that we got that, not anything with the championship, it's a relief off my shoulders to not feel like I was the hex on the team. So I'm glad they got one.
Congrats to you personally on that. Thanks so much for coming on. We'll see you next season, Steve.
All right. Take care.
Absolutely. Woohoo! Well, now you know. Now you know why they couldn't. I'm kidding. That was fun. Buffalo Bandits, of course, deserve this. Their city earned it. Dhane Smith earned it. Matt Vince, the crew, etc. This was a great season, and we're still not done here on Daily Dive because tomorrow we're going to kind of put a nice bow on things. We'll make some announcements for you guys. I want to look forward to. So once again, to everybody that comes on this show and contributes, thank you so much. For all the fans out there, positive or negative, that just tune in and push the algorithm in our direction, thank you. To all the people behind the scenes making sure this show does not stop even when season 1 ends, thank you. And I am your host, Michael Carbelis, saying this has been Daily Dive. We'll see you tomorrow, one final time in season 1. Same time, same place. Bye.